I was originally planning on filming this video at like a park so I can be like in nature or whatever. And then I walked outside and it's currently 91 degrees. So I'm back at my house because it's too hot for me to film this. I guess as good a start as any is to talk about my actual history with YouTube, which is fairly lengthy. I've been consuming YouTube basically as long as I can remember. Once I found out YouTube was a site, I was on it. Growing up, I watched tons of YouTube and I had favorites. Like I watched a lot of Smosh, I watched a lot of Niga Higa, and I started to gain favorites in people like Chugga Conroy and Stephen George. With these people, I felt seen and I felt heard, and I felt like I found a community that I could finally fit in with that I didn't have at school or with other peers. When I was in elementary school, middle school coming up, I had friends and people were nice to me, but I never really felt like I belonged anywhere. I was never into the things that the other boys were into, or I was never into things that like other people that looked like me were into. So like, I always kind of felt alienated or just kind of by myself. But when I discovered YouTube, I started to find communities of people who enjoyed the things that I enjoyed, and I started to feel seen and connected because of that. So part of the reason that YouTube turned into what it turned into for me was because I wanted to create that sense of community and belonging for other people like I had. I wanted to be that for somebody else. I wanted to give somebody else the safe space to exist and just enjoy things. As a creator, I've been making videos casually for the better part of the last decade, maybe like 8 years or something like that. I was in high school band and I wanted to make more music basically. Like music has always been my passion. I started playing the saxophone when I was 10 years old, and I immediately was like, this is what I want my job to be. I want to be a musician, and I wanted to make more music, and YouTube was an excuse for me to do that. I would find channels like Brian's Thing and Justin Ward and Nathan Allen, and I was like, I want to do that. So I looked up how to start recording music and how to make videos, and I would just do that. I made cover songs once a week, and that was my YouTube career. It was just something I did for funsies. Then eventually I discovered more of the creator side of what YouTube is, and immediately I was enthralled by it. And I figured that being a musician was difficult. Being a professional musician was difficult. Getting a record deal, making records, selling out, doing tours and all that stuff, that was incredibly difficult. But I was seeing these other YouTube channels make an income from playing music, and they didn't have to go through all of that kind of stuff. They just had to make videos and they were getting paid for that. And then suddenly my focus kind of shifted, and it turned into I wanted to be an online musician. That way I was still able to make money, and I was able to do all the things I've always wanted to do, like make a career through music, but I didn't have to go through all these extra hurdles. It suddenly became more obtainable. Throughout these early years, I never had any kind of strategy. In my mind, I was just like, yeah, if I just post enough, eventually, you know, I would just gain the following, and then whip bam bibbidi bow, I would just suddenly become an online creator, and that's all it had to be. But that's very much what it was not. It took me a very long time to build any kind of following, to build any kind of viewership or anything like that. It took me a very long time to develop even a small following. That was discouraging, but not enough for me to like do anything about it. I was just like, well, you know what? It'll all come in time, whatever. I was blaming the algorithm. I wasn't blaming myself, you know? Because I was seeing cover songs perform so well for other people, but just not for me. And then as time went on, I slowed down from making videos because I started college and was really more focused on that. I would post here and there. I never actually stopped. I just really slowed down. Like I would post once a month, maybe, and in the back of my mind I'd be like, yeah, you know, it'll get the views it gets, hopefully it goes viral, and then I can become a creator and quit the whole college thing, whatever. But there was no actual effort put forth into it. It turned into a kind of escape for me because I was in school for information technology. I'm still in school for information technology, and that is just so different from being artistically creative. I'm not saying that like technology isn't creative, but it's a different type of creativity that you have to have versus doing something artistically creative. And YouTube was giving me the outlet to be artistically creative and do the things I really wanted to do when I was spending my days in tech school and I was spending my nights creating. And as I kept doing that more and more, the love for like creation kept going forward and it kept evolving. The love for music never stopped, but it definitely expanded. Like, I wasn't just a saxophone player, I became more of a producer. I just started exploring sound, and then I started having a love for the technical aspect of cameras and using that technical aspect to inform the artistry of filmmaking. And I started to develop a deeper appreciation for filmmaking, and that turned into a deeper appreciation of YouTube filmmaking, because I think that's a whole genre in and of itself. And I wanted that more and more and more. My desire to be an online creator expanded more from just wanting to do music and make that my career and using YouTube as a platform to creating something even bigger than that. And I wanted it so bad. I should give it a little more context. I started college as a music major and then eventually changed over to computer science. I was in computer science for a little bit, about a year or two, and then I switched to information technology because of some circumstances that had come up. Computer science was just too much for me, and I ended up switching my major. Now, information technology was similar enough, but I still had a lot of classes to take. I still do have a handful of classes to take. And I was starting to feel very unfulfilled at school. Like, I stopped caring about learning as much as I used to, because I used to love to learn. I used to love to learn about computers and learn about all this kind of stuff. But as the time went on and on and on, it just felt like I wasn't learning anymore, and it felt like busy work. It felt like I was just beating my head until the end of another semester. And then hopefully if I did that enough times, I would end up with a degree. I stopped having that love and passion for learning. Never the love for technology, but the love of learning about it. I hope that distinction is like clear. And those hang-ups kind of translated more into my life too, that I'm having friends that I have friends that work at NASA, and I have friends that work at SpaceX, and I have friends that didn't even go to college, that are working corporate high-level paying jobs, and I am still here working on my 6th year of my 4-year degree. And it was one of those things where I was telling myself that, like, everybody has their own path, and that was well understood, that was well documented or whatever. Like, I understood that fundamentally, but I never liked it. You know, like, it always felt like my path was longer and more complicated than everybody else's, because I had this dream or delusion, I guess, of wanting to be an online creator, and everyone else had a clear-cut way to get to their goals, but I didn't. And you would think that after that I would just kind of break down and just say, like, yeah, fine, whatever, I'll just put my head down, finish school, and just get a normal job and call it a day. But it actually made my YouTube delusions stronger than ever. At this point now, as long as I could remember, I wanted to be an online creator. Basically from the time I was like 15 or 16, I found out that you could make a full-time income from being an online creator through different income sources. That's what I wanted. That never went away. If anything, it got stronger. I did have a lot of self-doubt in myself on, can I actually do this with the amount of like followers and pull that I have? But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? I have to. If I don't try, then I failed. That's kind of the method that I adopted, or the mantra that I adopted. If I don't try, then that's an automatic failure. So I decided that I was just gonna give it my actual effort, give it actual thought, give it actual push. Let's see if we can actually do this. Let's make our dreams come true. That kind of leads us to where we are right now, with obviously my YouTube channel being small, but it's pretty healthy for the size that it's at. But I'm still looking for it to become something so much more and so much bigger. And that brings us to the reason I'm making this video. I wanted to document the creation of my online business. A couple years ago, I came up with the name Richard Ashby Media because I wanted the company to end up being something bigger than just YouTube and bigger than just music. I wanted it to be something where I can just enjoy myself and do the things that I enjoy and call that work. But that's not gonna happen overnight. And I figured there are probably tons of other people who are on the same journey as me. So why not document it for everybody? So my goal here is to try to tell the story of how I am building Richard Ashby Media in real time. And if you're joining me here, you can follow along with me, or if you're watching this sometime in the future, you can see what I've done to get to where I am, hopefully now. YouTube gave me a purpose, and it made me feel like I can be something bigger than myself. That's a pretty abridged version of my story. And I think that's a perfect intro to how YouTube changed my life and how I plan to take that further. So if you want to join this journey, you can subscribe to this channel. If you like music, you can subscribe to my main channel. And let's go on a journey together.